Oh, shh. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm misclicking buttons. I don't know what's going on, but I can tell you it's episode 121 of the Gaming Enforcement Agency, as it is every Thursday night, 8:30 p.m. right here on Geek Aloud. Of course, I'm always joined by Bully in that there third slot. How you doing this evening, sir?
Very good, and it's probably quite appropriate that you're misclicking buttons because there's a few games we're going to be talking to me about tonight that have been mishitting. So,
Excellent.
Fortuitous.
I'm on par for the course then. Par for the course. Spoiler alert. I can tell you the run of the show is as follows. We start off with games, interrogation, and deliberation. This evening we are kicking through 4 of the games that Bully and I have been going hands-on with this week. Followed by that, it's a cold case from Bully. He's been diving backwards into his archives and pulled one out. And then it's the most wanted game coming up in the next 7 days in the video game landscape. And then we're off into the newsroom. Bully, how many stories have you managed to rustle up?
We've rounded up 6 for this evening there, Troy.
Excellent work. And then it's audience interrogation. It's obviously a live stream here on YouTube. Feel free to comment along all night. Bully will read those comments out. We'll discuss them in real time. If we miss them, though, we'll pick them up in that final segment. All that being said, we are on. Bully, I'm very excited about the opening game. I'm not sure you are. So let's get on to games, interrogation, and deliberation. It is, of course, the, in my opinion, excellent Gears of War Reloaded.Bully. I've been playing it. I checked it out on the Xbox Series X. I checked it out on the PlayStation. And as was true with the beta a few weeks ago, the game just sings on the PS5 Pro and leaves a bit to be desired on the Xbox Series X. So PlayStation still the best place to be gaming. I've just started, what do they call it, Act 3. So I've gotten through Acts 1 and 2. It's a heck of a lot of fun. When I originally played it, obviously, they didn't have the Pro controllers, but I've got the, what do they call it, the Edge, the PS Edge controller. So I've got the 2 buttons on the back, and I've worked out if I've got Sprint on the behind the left side of the controller and Reload on the right, I can really get my old man hands jumping through the hurdles. You'll notice on the footage here, Bully, I got through, I think it was Act 1, and then I had to turn off the screen shake on the sprint. It was just a bit too much for me. It never bothered me back in the day, but on the new version, I don't know if it's the 4K res, if it's my old man eyes that are letting me down, but that really, I don't suffer motion sickness, but that shaky cam on sprint was really not doing me any favors. The game looks phenomenal. You can see it obviously running on screen here, running on a PS5 Pro. The installs on the channel, recommendations for the settings and everything are in there. Bully, they're using the speaker, which I love, in the controller. They're using the adaptive triggers. It's got the rumble. It's got everything you could want. I've played a couple of online matches, and that's as messy as ever. I just get owned left, right, and center. That is a brutal, brutal online multiplayer game. It's a heck of a lot of fun. On screen there, you can see, Bully, there's a few, I don't know if you remember, but there's branching paths throughout the levels. You know, pick left, pick right, and off you go. And what I've noticed, I never noticed this previously, but what I've noticed on this playthrough is it seems like if you go right, that's the easier option. And going left, you'll always end up at the lower quadrant. But if you go right, you'll always end up on the higher ground and you'll get to, you know, drop the blokes in the back that are on the Gatling guns or whatever. So my tip would be go right when you get the option. And the other real oddity with this game, Bully, wrap your head around this, hadn't installed it on the Xbox Series X. But as I was playing it through on the PS5, you don't have to, but I did link my Xbox account to the PlayStation 5. And as I was playing through the campaign, popping trophies, my phone would ding and I'd get the Xbox Series X achievements, even though I hadn't even installed or gone hands-on with the title at that stage. So I don't know what Microsoft are playing, and I love it. Don't get me wrong. I'll take a free achievement every day of the week, but part of me suspects they're doing something in the back end just so they can pump up those Game Pass numbers. I don't know how they're finagling it, but I suspect there's some accounting tricks going on. The other thing I need to note, there's been 2 instances so far. As I said, I'm just at the start of Act 3. I think I'm 2.5 hours into the campaign. There's been 2 instances where the next door hasn't opened. You know, you stack up on the door, one of the other players is meant to kick it open, or one instance the other guy was meant to do it, one instance I was meant to do it. when I did it, I was hitting the button and nothing would happen. The other time, the guy just stood there and never kicked it open. But the checkpoint system's pretty good in it. You don't go back too far. So I just reloaded the last checkpoint and then was able to continue on my merry way. So just a little bit of a gotcha there. And one of the other things I noticed, a weird bug, was I can't remember what the town's called, but you know where what are they, the bats or whatever that fly in and rip you apart if you're not standing in the light. It was in that town area. And I was speaking to another character, and one of the NPCs was just running circles around me continually until I moved. So there's just a few little bugs here and there. But other than that, I absolutely love this game. I can't recommend it highly enough. I'm absolutely loving my time with it. I'm looking forward to playing through the campaign again. It's been at least 10 years since I've seen this campaign. So it's not entirely new, but there is a lot of fresh moments for me. Bully, have you gone hands-on?
Yeah, I have it. I'll just touch on with the trophies and the achievements to start with. So I did see on a trophy forum at one point that there was a lot of people complaining that within hours of the game being released, that there was an inordinate amount of people that were popping the platinum trophy. So I think what the discussion there is that if you have the Gears of War Ultimate Edition, I think on Xbox,
yep,
and as you mentioned, you link your Xbox account to PlayStation when you log in and start playing for the first time, and it goes the other way. So all your achievements that you've popped on that Ultimate Edition on Xbox start popping on your PlayStation. So what ends up happening is within within a matter of seconds, you've got most of the achievements that you've already got. There might be a couple of instance pops that you need to work through, but for the most part, and I think I can't remember, there was another game we were talking about a while ago that you did the same thing. It was an Xbox game that you logged in with your or you started playing on PlayStation, and as soon as you synced your Xbox account, it just started popping achievements left, right, and center. Which
it was Indiana Jones did it.
Yeah, which is funny because I'm not really a big fan of it going that way. I know that it can be done with a lot of games, and it's, to be honest, it's becoming less and less common that PS4 to PS5, when they're the same games and have the same trophy list, that they auto pop when you load your save on from like say you've got the platinum trophy on the PS4, and then you load your save on the PS5 version, it just auto pops all the trophies you've already got. That's becoming less and less common. Sort of as we get further into the PS5 life cycle, but I'm really not a big fan of that. If you're going to get those, especially cross-platforming, if you're going to get those achievements or you're going to get the trophies, I think it should be done because you've got them, not because you've basically spammed the system. But
I agree with you completely. I wish I could link the accounts and then get a toggle on off. Do you want to auto pop trophies, achievements?
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
To the game itself, I'm sort of really mixed over it. So the gameplay wise, for the most part, and I'll take on board that running with a massive sway, which I think you can turn off anyway. But
yeah,
as default, when it does start, it is horrendous. Like, it's almost vomit inducing, the amount of sway that's going on.
Yeah.
But gameplay wise, that's probably my only real complaint. Like, it plays a lot better than the originals. The gunplay feels a lot better than the originals, even though the originals were pretty good back in the day. The gameplay itself, I'm really happy with. What I'm not, and what's really disappointed me is, and I know that they're trying to be true to the original game in to a large degree, and we can see on screen there, like the in-game gameplay graphics look pretty good, but the cutscenes, in my opinion, look borderline horrendous. Like, it's back to the late 2000s of Xbox 360. That's almost that they've cut and pasted. Like, they look terrible, in my opinion.
Can I ask you on that? Did you spend much time in the HDR calibration and tweaking that?
It's not the lighting or anything. It's just the character models for me that
okay.
Yeah, they really look terrible, in my opinion. And the fact that they haven't gone in and put much work into that, I think is a shame. Like, I know it's not a full price game, but you're re-releasing it as a remastered version. So I would have thought, or you would have updated the cutscenes at least. And the other thing that I was really disappointed with, and like I said before, the in-game looks good, but it's still got that really grey, green, brown aesthetic of the mid and early Xbox 360 lifestyle. I really would have loved to have seen you can keep that aesthetic to a degree, but punch up a lot of the various elements within the game. Like you can see on screen there, you've got the doorway. Well, the door's all green and brown. Like you could have punched up a little bit of that with a bit of contrast or color or something like that, and still kept the homage to the original game to a large degree. So I was really disappointed with that. I was really hoping that it'd be a lot punchier in terms of the graphic style and even the enemies. I mean, you can see Marcus Phoenix on screen there. It's brown, grey, green. You go to the enemies, it's brown, grey, green. Like there's not a lot of contrast in those colours, and I think they've really missed a pretty big opportunity to, especially given that it's coming over to PlayStation for the first time, and there would have been a lot of it would have captured a lot of PlayStation gamers that have never played on an Xbox just for the pure sake that it's one of the biggest Xbox franchises. But I think they've really missed the mark in terms of really capturing that audience, because they've obviously got more games that they can release down the track in terms of remakes or remastered that have already been released, and then they've got an upcoming Gears of War game as well. So there's certainly money to be made there and an audience to capture. I just think they've missed the mark a little bit with some of the points that they haven't really hit. So for me, like it's good gameplay wise, but and to play through that is good, but it's really missing the mark in a lot of instances. So if you've never played it, I'd recommend at least having a crack, because like I said, the gameplay is good. But if you played through it before, I really don't think it's that much of a step up from the updated. I can't remember what they call it on Xbox, but you put the old games in and it up-reses them and makes them look better. I don't think there's that much of a difference between that on the Xbox and what you're now getting released on the PS5. So I reckon it's probably missed the mark a fair degree, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay. That's fair, Chris. I'm just on the screen now. We're about to miss it, but left is PS5 and right is Xbox Series X. A bit of a side-by-side comparison there. I think it just looks a lot better on the PS5. I guess just in, responding there to your comment about the look, I hadn't really considered, because I do have such an affinity for the original game back in the day. Playing it now, it does look a lot better, and that's the only place my mind was sitting. But you're right. If I think about like a Death Stranding 2, for example, like the character models in that look damn near realistic, and this is clearly a video game from 10 years ago, but I hadn't even joined those dots in my head. So I definitely take your point on board. They could have done a lot of work with those models, which I hadn't considered. I think they've punched up the color palette a little bit, but I also take on board your point. It is still very brown and green. But I think they have toned it back a bit closer to a neutral color. So slight improvements there. I love the Dawn, the Hammer of Dawn. Man, I'm getting all my words backwards. Thoroughly enjoying it. The only thing I haven't been able to go hands on yet with is the co-op campaign, which I'm keen to check out at some point. If nothing else, there's a trophy for playing. I think it's just one part of a chapter in co-op. So I'd like to pick up that easy trophy at some point, but I'm curious to see how it would run. But a heck of a lot of fun, in my opinion. As you already said, it's not a full-price game. And if you enjoyed it previously, I think it's a good step up. Bully, clearly you disagree with me on that, but I think maybe we'd both agree. If you've never played the game before, is it worth picking up at the discounted price?
Oh, I think it is. If you've never played it before, but if you're looking to sort of, and it's probably one of those hard things, if you're sort of looking to reminisce on a classic old game, like you said, you probably will look at it and go, oh, it's a marked improvement on the original, but I just sort of look at it the other way and say it's not really, and I'll stick my hand up to straight away saying I get that it's a remake or a remaster of a near enough 20-year-old game, and I thoroughly take that on board. But when you're trying to compare it to the quality of games and the color palette and the graphical fidelity of the games that we're seeing now, especially if you're playing it on the PS5 Pro, I think it falls well short of that mark of what the gameplay, in terms of the looks of it, it falls well short of what a lot of people would expect in this day and age, I think.
Yeah, that is fair criticism. The only other point, I mentioned it briefly earlier, but I can't encourage any viewers or yourself, Bully, enough to really spend some time in that HDR setting and tweak it, because I think by default it was way off for my setup. And then I went through and I've massaged it like 5 or 6 times, and I've now got it sitting somewhere where I'm really happy with. And it's such a stark difference compared to if you don't tweak that and play it. It does, the color gamut is quite squished, but if you spend the time, you can really stretch it out, and then the inside-outside contrast really pops, and it just looks phenomenal. I can't talk highly enough of the way this looks and runs. I think it's phenomenal. 120 frames a second, Bully, which is nice.
Yeah, oh, look, like I said, the in-game, it actually runs pretty well. Like, as you said, the frame rate's good. I didn't see any dips or anything noticeable in terms of that, even though when you've got a lot of enemies on screen and there's a lot of, gunplay going on, I didn't really notice any drops in frame rate. And the in-game graphics and the settings looks, reasonable. It's just the cutscenes look dreadful, and it just needs a really, for mine, it just needs much more of a punchy color palette. But having said all that, I get what would happen is if they did that and changed it too much, you get a lot of people that played it back in the day going, "Oh, this is ridiculous. You've changed it too much, and it's not faithful to the original." And so I get that they're walking a fine line there, but I just think in today's day and age, you're 20 years down the track, people are expecting, for the most part, something a bit more punchy in the graphics department, and I just think it fails to meet it. But it's each to their own. Like, there's others, like you said, that you may play it and say, no, I think it's pretty faithful to the original. That was sort of what the original was. It was, dark and brooding and a destroyed dystopian world. And, people will play that and go, no, this is actually what I really want, because we don't get that these days. I guess I've just sort of moved on from that bland, early Xbox and PS3 color palette to wanting something more than what we're presented with here. So, I might be in the minority on it. I don't know, but that's just, sort of my thought process, I guess.
Fair enough. My final point then will just be, I would love to see a PC version of this with a mod that gives it the Rage 2 color palette. Bully, how would that look? The big fluoro pinks everywhere. Do you reckon that'd sit well?
Oh, look, to me, it'd look funny. Oh, no doubt about it. I don't think we need to go that far, but just like I said, it just needs a bit of punch to it, a bit of differentiation between the levels rather than just bland. Like, it needs something else other than what it is. But I fully take on board that I'm probably in the minority, and there's others that would disagree with me. So.
Fair enough. Well, you're the only person I've spoken to about it, Bully, so it's an even split at this stage from my point of view. All right, mate, let's move on now to game number 2. I'll hand it over to you, sir. Tell me things about Lost Soul Aside.
Lost Soul Aside. So it was funny because this was one of those games that I think it was supposed to originally come out in May, and it got delayed, and I sort of thought I was keen for it from what I'd seen initially. When it got delayed, I thought, oh, that's okay. It's only a couple of months down the track. If that's the case, that I'm fine with that. If it just needs a bit of clean up or whatever it is, it looks, especially early on, it looks very Final Fantasy. You've got those sort of over the top characters and hairstyles and costumes and all the rest of it. So you sort of dumped into this world and you go, oh, this looks like a Final Fantasy game. I could see myself really getting into this. Within probably 5 or 10 minutes, that just goes out the window. The frame rate is nothing short of horrendous. Like, there was times that it was dropping, like, it wasn't just 1 or 2 frames it was dropping. It was dropping for 4 or 5 seconds to noticeably chugging levels when I was playing it on the PS5 Pro, which was hard to play with, especially when you're doing, because it's an action RPG game. So you're sort of needing that, not quick twitch as in your Dark Souls style combat, but it's certainly you need that fluid movement while you play it. And when you start getting the frame drops, it makes that really difficult. The tutorial style section with it, like some of the Final Fantasy games are somewhat obtuse with their ongoing tutorial. We told you this already, but we'll just remind you again. And then 5 minutes later, hey, you may have forgot this from 5 minutes ago. How about we give you another crack at it? I sort of found that element of it is that they just repeated things over and over and over again. And then you get to the combat, and the combat's like 2-button, and they tell you that you've got combos in there that you can use between these 2 buttons. But I found it dreadful. I'd have to go back into it and try and see if there's button mapping that you can change on it, because the dodge on it's terrible. The way that I've got it as default. And I'll put maybe an hour and a half into it as to one of the games that I was really looking forward to in the back half or the back quarter of the year when we start to get all these big releases. This was still one that jumped out at me. And like I said, I put an hour and a half into it, and I've just sort of put it to the side and thought, it's got potential, don't get me wrong, but there's just so many things on launch that are wrong with it that I'm just saying I'm going to wait a couple of months, and hopefully they go back, they patch it, they fix these things up, and there's something behind it, because I think it's got potential. It just hasn't shown it so far in the time that I've played it. The stories, I mean, it's probably got potential, but it's very reminiscent of the probably late 90s. I shouldn't even compare it to late 90s or early 2000s Final Fantasy, because that was peak Final Fantasy with 7 and 10 and all the rest of it. But it's probably that mid to late 2000s Final Fantasy with a storyline that just was sort of ho-hum, and you go, oh yeah, I know what's happening, and it's by the numbers sort of thing. That's where it sort of starts off. So hopefully the story improves. But for me, probably, I was trying to think of it before. I can't think from my mind, and there might be a lot of others that weren't really aware of this game or looking forward to whatever. But for mine, it's probably one of my biggest disappointment games of the year. And I think it's one of it's published by Sony, but it's the China Hero project. I'm not sure if you've seen that. So they put a lot of money into Chinese developers to give them the opportunity to develop, AA or AAA games. And this is one of the first, bigger name games that we've seen come out of that system. And for me, probably a really big disappointment in the first instance. Hopefully they can patch it up and it gets better down the track. But given that they had 4 or 5 months of extra time to polish it up and work on it, I'd hate to see what state it was in May when it was originally going to get released, if that's the state that it's in now. But I couldn't recommend it. I think I spoke to Unky last week or the week before when it was last week, when it was released, and just said, look, yeah, it's got potential, but I can't recommend it as a day one purchase. I'd put it on the back burner. Hopefully they do something with it, and we can get back to it later in the year, but not something I'd be telling you to rush out and buy at this point.
Fair enough. Did the whale heed your warning, or did he go headlong into it anyway?
I think it's one of the few times he's actually listened to me, because normally I say it's terrible, and he goes, "Oh, I read some obscure website somewhere that said it was good. I'm going to buy it," and then he'll get back to me a week later and say, "Oh yeah, you were right. It's terrible."
The only other question I've got for you, mate, just looking at this trailer here, it looks like they've got some really cool traversal mechanics in there. How have you found that side of it?
I haven't really got up to that yet, so I'm just sort of in the first city area where this is not really giving much away of the story, but you're basically shown to be part of a rebel faction within the city that's trying to fight back against the rulers, and it's still, even though I've got past the quote unquote tutorial section, it's still within that first couple of hours, so you're still sort of working your way through that and working through the story. But it was that. And that's why normally in a game like that, where the story might be a bit ho-hum, but you sort of, I can see where it's at and you sort of push your way through it. Just the way that it plays and the chug on the system at the moment, I can't go any further with it. I've got to put it away, even though, like I've said a couple of times, there's something there. I just can't play through it the way it is in the current state that it's in.
Yeah, totally fair, mate. Totally fair. All right, let's move on to a game that is in early access that I've been going hands on with or feet on with. It is the upcoming Skate. It's in early access, I think on the 17th, I believe, this month. It's open to the general public. I was in the closed beta stage. So anyone in the closed beta stage got access to it a couple of days ago. It's the footage you're seeing here. It's been amazing in this particular beta to see how much they've improved it in a month. When I played it a month ago, it was the same sort of, like, it's the full game now, but a month ago it was the beta. It was just the first section of the game. The tutorial has been vastly improved. cut down. That being said, this kind of like you were saying with Lost Soul Aside.Bully, you're on a separate island and they take you through the basic movement tutorial, and then you jump on a ferry, land on the mainland, and then they take you through the exact same tutorial again. It's a bit of an odd way of doing it. They could have almost just cut off that initial island and let you have at it. But anyway, the other crazy thing, a month ago, they had all the in-game voiceover it's like a narrator. There's no cutscene as such, but there's a narrator talking to, I think she's the mayor of this town, and she's built a dream skate city. She's talking to, for every mission of the game, she sort of does a bit of a preamble. A month ago, it was this horrible, steppy AI voice, and now they've either dramatically improved the AI voice or it's actually voice acted now. But the in-game comms are a heck of a lot better than they were just a month ago. The game is smoother than it was a month ago. They've done a lot of work in just a month, and I think the actual release hasn't even been announced yet. Like, the early access starts on the 17th, but I don't believe there's an actual release date for the full game. But the amount of improvements they can make in a month is just, it's blown me away. I love the look of this game. I love the way it feels. It's like, got the Fight Night almost controls. It's not, button to ollie, button to grind or whatever. It's all in the sticks and the shoulder buttons for the grabs and the turns. It's just a heck of a lot of fun to play. I'm really enjoying it. If you like your skate games, I think get into it. But it is more technical than your Tony Hawk's. If you just enjoy sort of the arcadey button bashing of Tony Hawk's, maybe not this one for you. But if you enjoy the sort of technical, harder aspects, and I eat it so often in this. I think I cut most of it out in the footage, but I am forever just jumping on my board and then straight into a pop plant or something. But, and Bully, what do you think of the field of view here? I've cranked it up to 120 degrees. Do you love it?
It's horrendous. I was watching the footage there because I haven't played it. I was watching the footage there going, what is wrong with this? It's like sort of, stretched out, or it's not focused, and then that explains it, the bloody field of view.
Well, in my defense, I don't know if you were into it back in the 90s, Billy. I used to love watching you get a VHS of skaters or VHS of like surfers and stuff, and it's just, 40 minutes of action. That for the skate videos was always with a fisheye lens. So I feel like it's true to the 90s skate VHS. I used to watch that real fisheye for the skating videos. I love it.
Well, maybe that's why I never got into skating, and it was more surfing because I couldn't stand the bloody the camera that they always threw up.
So that's brilliant. The other crazy thing they've added, I think it's about to come up on screen now, is to mix it up a bit. So obviously you can be on foot, run around, you hit triangle, you drop your board, and you're off to the races. But the other thing they've added, Bully, is like a stuntman kind of mode. Do you remember in Saints Row how there was like one of the side quests was like insurance fraud, I think it was called, and you'd have to like go out. I think you might have muted yourself, or you just didn't say anything.
Yeah, where you had to go and jump in front of cars and get run over and sort of bounce around and try and add up your insurance payout. Yeah,
exactly. So they've kind of added. It's not called insurance, and it's not about insurance, but in this you can mantle up the side of buildings, and then you can jump off, and you can either drop on your board and take off at the bottom, or you can pull, I think it's R2 and X, and you throw your hands out and you just dive at the pavement. And it starts off with the tutorial of like, aim for this dumpster, and then here's how you fly further, aim for this dumpster, and then you just drop and ragdoll and bounce, and then so it
sounds almost like like the Burnout Crash Time. Remember those? Yeah, where you had to you crashed your car once, and then you had to manipulate yourself around in slow motion to try and take out more cars and signs and all the rest of it.
Yeah. So I mean, I love this as a skating game, but it was an unexpected breath of fresh air. You just mantle up the building, and then it's like, all right, just start throwing yourself at people like a missile. So the game doesn't need it at all, but I'm so glad they've added it. It's like, you can do a couple of runs or, missions or hit a skate park for a bit. And then you're like, I just need a little something else. Instead of booting up another game, you go into this and, there's the world map, and then there's little markers everywhere. It's like, go here to try and do a run, like in a mini skate park area. Go here and try and perform the best trick off a specific line, or you go to these stunts. Check out this, Bully. You just jump off and land in the skip if you can. So it's just, you don't even need to leave the game. If you just need a tiny little break from skating, you just look for the crash helmet icon on the map, and then and you just start throwing yourself around. I didn't know that I needed this in my life, Bully, but it's so enjoyable. I haven't even looked at the trophies yet. Oh, I should mention what's on screen there. When you first encounter a new thing, it does like that sort of AR like example ghost silhouette thing doing it. And then check it out. I missed this one a few times, and you just bounce. Dead right. Anyway, so run around, skate, fill your boots, and then if you need just a little break, a little pick me up, climb a building, and go ham. So heck of a lot of fun. Oh, the soundtrack in it is awesome. In the install video, there's gameplay, but there's no soundtrack. Obviously, I've turned it off to avoid any copyright strikes. I reckon they've nailed the soundtrack. The city itself is interesting, as you'd expect. There's a bunch of different places you can do tricks and like make up your own lines and little sections. It's got I think it's a long press on the trackpad at any time, and I think it's constantly recording at 2 or 3 minutes of your play, and so you can like go back, replay the last 2 or 3 minutes of gameplay, and then move the camera around anywhere. So you can set up the camera in advance and have yourself jumping over the top of it or whatever. The other thing I have to mention is all the unlockables. It's kind of like a battle pass. It's not a battle pass, but it's like that. Like you level up a little bit, and here's bang, 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 bunch of cosmetics. You can customize your little name tag thing there, all different shirts and everything. You can also drop real money into it and buy the in-game various cosmetics, if that sort of thing floats your boat. The other thing I haven't tried, and I'm dying to, is a bit of co-op with my boys. We love playing the Tony Hawk's games together. I'm keen to go hands-on with the young fellas, and I'm sure they'll spend a lot of time customizing their characters in that menu. Oh, excuse me. Any questions from your side? I believe I've covered. Oh, sorry, I did have to say they've used the speaker, which I love. The grind sound comes out between your hands. The rumble in it's great, and the adaptive triggers also work beautifully. The whole thing is a lot of fun from top to bottom. Bully, any questions?
No, I think you covered it pretty well. It's not something I'll be jumping into. I don't think. I reckon Tony Hawk's, the original one on the PS1, was the last skateboarding game I played. So not really something that interests me. But and I don't even know. I can't even tell you whether it looks good or not, because that field of vision view is killing me. I'll take your word for it that it plays all right. But it's funny that you have that you mentioned that they had that sort of, I don't know whether you want to call it a stunt mode or a whatever you want to call it, but games like this where they're adding just something little in, it's almost like that Grand Theft Auto thing where you've got your main mission, you've got your side missions, but by the way, we're going to throw something where you got to fly a plane through under the bridges or stuff like that, just to give you a little break in the gameplay, and you do that for a little bit, and then you go, okay, I'm ready to jump into it. So it's almost like creating that palate cleanser within a game, that it's not making you jump out of the game and play something else to get that. So I think it's a really smart way to do it, is that you're not switching over and finding something else that you might say, oh, I'm just going to play this for a little bit because I'm sick of skating, but then you never get back to it. They're actually keeping you involved within the confines of the game itself. So a really smart move, I think. But and I think more games should probably throw something like that in, just something else to do, rather than if you sort of get sick of it, or you're trying to get a score or something that you can't quite hit and you start to get frustrated, just to throw something else at it. Yeah, but I mean, it looks all right, I suppose. I don't know. I'm no expert in skateboarding games, but not something I'm jumping in.
Fair enough, mate. The other thing I failed to mention is it's always online game, and I don't know if you can turn it off. I haven't seen the option to turn it off, but there's real people throughout the whole world. There's other gamers everywhere, so you don't actually crash into them, but you can sort of skate through them. But you'll be trying to do a line somewhere, and then there'll be other skaters all over the shop doing wild tricks, jumping off the top of buildings left, right, and center. And you can set up meeting points and start a skate session. And, it's online multiplayer. People can jump into it with your party if that's the sort of experience you want. So big online component as well.
For a game that's, I would imagine it. I get the social element of it, but the reality is it's just, and have that in there. I've got no issue with that. But this ongoing thing with persistent online is killing me.
Fair enough. It does make the city feel alive in their defense, but it would be nice if they had an offline mode so in 10, 20 years people could boot it up and still get some version of the experience. 2 massive thumbs up from me. Check it out. I say if you're into skating games, technically minded skating games, this one is it down to the ground. All right, Bully, game 4 this week is me. No fisheye on this one. I turned it on originally and then I had to back it off. It was too much for me. I had to join your camp, but this is Stride Fates. The game was out in 2023, I think November 2023. So it's a few years old now. It's a parkour, shooter, melee combat, first-person shooter narrative type story. You run around, you shoot people, you punch people, you pick up a baseball bat, you bash them, you pick up a crowbar, you jimmy doors open on elevators, to traverse the levels. It's very much a linear game. It's not an open world. It's linear level after level. A lot of fun. You can warp guns and stuff too, and dual pistol, take out the waves of enemy. They've got guys on turrets and all that sort of stuff. The parkour is so full on, Bully. Like it's, me, I'm not very good at 3D platforming. At least in VR, I've got half a chance. I can sort of tilt my head, lean the stick towards it, hit the button, run across the wall. I'm better at 3D platforming in VR, but I'm still not great at it. But a thoroughly enjoyable single-player VR game. The shooting mechanics are spot on. It's always nice to pull off a headshot. I think that's about it. I'd recommend it, and it's pretty cheap too because it's a couple of years old, as I said. So a nice VR title, well done. It doesn't miss a beat performance-wise, performs beautifully. All the physics, everything work as you would expect. Thoroughly enjoyable game. It feels like it'll be a short one. I haven't even looked up time to complete, but on a limb, I'd guess maybe 8 to 10 hours. But I don't know if you could handle VR much longer. This is good for about an hour. I'm hitting my limit, and I've got to take that headset off. Any thoughts from you on this, Bully? Is this a game that's speaking to you? Oh, muted, mate.
You said you'd be hitting your limits after an hour. I reckon I'll be hitting my limits after about 30 seconds. Oh, it's way too fast for me on VR. When you started playing, I thought, it's just a first-person sort of shooter type thing, like maybe Mirror's Edge with guns or something like that. And then you said it's VR, and I go, oh God, no. No, there's no chance I'll be playing this. I think I'll stick with my more sedentary, golfing games on VR.
Yeah, fair enough. As you can see here, this is the parkour stuff, Bully. Check this out. You run, you jump, you leap, you mantle up the side. There's grates and stuff. You climb your way up. You can jump on air conditioners and stuff on the outside of buildings, scale your way up. Sort of, there's multiple paths to get to the objective. But as I said, it's linear level. Check out this shotgun, Bully. Oh, I don't think I worked out how to shoot it initially, so I beat him to death with the shotgun. There's knives in it as well. Don't know if I mentioned that earlier. Knives, crowbars, melee, weapons. Oh, the other one, Bully, that I know you wouldn't like. At various points, there's grappling hook points. So you run, you sprint, you jump off the edge of a building, snag the grapple, and fling yourself up and up onto the next rooftop. And work your way around. It's minor, but it's a good, interesting little, near future sci-fi story. You've got like an AI companion with you, and there's a bit of a narrative going on, but not overly compelling. But a lot of VR games don't even bother with a story. So at least these guys have gone to the effort. It's enjoyable. Check out this shotgun action, Bully. Kabang. I think it's a thing of beauty. Oh, you're muted again, mate. You are going home.
Oh, I'm terrible. I'm terrible tonight. It's one of those things that I and you mentioned there with you couldn't work out how to shoot the shotgun. That's one of my biggest things with VR games, and I understand that they're trying to do it as like an immersion type thing, but this whole putting the clip in, reloading it, hitting this, doing that before you can fire a shot, just make it like a first person shooter. Just let me raise the gun up and shoot. And push a button for an auto reload. I don't need any of this other nonsense of, trying to slide a magazine into the back end of it. And I'm a little bit off ways and that didn't quite get it. Just let me shoot the bloody thing.
Yeah, fair enough. Oh, the other thing is after the mission, you can bounce out at any time to the main menu, and you've got 3 core weapons, a pistol, a shotgun, and an SMG. There's other weapons you pick up, but those 3 core ones, as you're running around the world, you pick up little resource pouches, and then you jump back to the main menu, and then you can upgrade those 3 core weapons. So, better sights, larger magazines, typical upgrade path stuff. Check this out. Kaboom. See you later, sunshine. And then some long range shots. I thoroughly enjoy it. As I said, it's discounted price, or it's a lower price for VR game because it's a couple of years old. If this game is at all interesting to you based off looking at it here, up the air cons, Bully. Looking at it here, I recommend this game wholeheartedly. It's a lot of fun for a VR action romp, although I appreciate anyone in Bully's camp with motion sickness might just be a hard pass, which is fair enough.
Mini golf me.
Anytime, mate. How about this, though? How about we move on to your cold case?
The cold case for this, so I won't spend too much on it because it's probably been spoken to death. Anyone that's ever done a list of best PS4 games or even PS5 games is the original new Spider-Man that was released in 2018. So I didn't realize this, Troy. It actually had a remastered version on the PS5, which I never knew existed. And then come April with the Essentials collection on PS Plus, it pops up, and I thought, I haven't played that since release. And then I thought about it. That was 7 years ago. Oh, let's give it another crack. And I originally just started playing through it and thought, oh well, I'll just see what it's like comparative, to the PS4 on the to the PS5 Pro and how it looks. It absolutely looks as stunning as what it did. When you play games and then years later you go back and play them again and you go, I remember this looking a lot better than what it did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, the fact that it's a remastered version, it's on the PS5 Pro, it's got all that ray tracing, it's running at a smooth 60 frames. Like it looks what you remember a game looks like from 7 years ago. It plays fantastically. It has included in it the 3 DLC packages, which I think I played through all those. I think it adds up to, by the time you factor in the side quests and some of the other activities into it, I think it adds up to another 7 or 8 hours of gameplay between those 3 DLCs on top of the game itself. So it sort of got me hooked. As I said, I just sort of played through it originally just to see what it was like, comparative to what I'd played previously, and found myself really just falling in love and enjoying it again to the point where I just went through it. I played through the main base story campaign. I went through and played the DLCs, which I'd never played, and really enjoyed it. The only thing I'll say with the DLCs, by the time you get to those after you've played the main campaign, you're sort of getting to the point where you go, like, I'm enjoying it, but I need it to end. Like, I want it to end at this point.
Yep.
So if you're going to do it, I'd probably say just have a little bit of a break in between playing the main game to the DLCs, and then get back into it, and you'll enjoy it because the DLC is actually pretty good. And then ended up, as I said, going through it, platinum the game again, got all the trophies for the DLC, and then I think I'm left with 2 short, which is playing it on New Game Plus on the hardest difficulty. So that might have to be something for another 7 years down the track. But thoroughly enjoyed it, and as I said, I didn't realize it was a remastered version. It did pop up, so if anyone wasn't aware, it's there to play. It's free if you got the PS Plus extra membership, or can't remember what tier it's called. The
Premium, Deluxe.
I get confused with them all. There's 2.
Yeah, there is.
But if you do have access, it is sitting there. It looks incredible. It plays just as well as what you would remember it playing, and thoroughly worth a bit of a jump back into it, I would have thought.
Yeah, absolutely. My advice would be don't do what I did and shoot yourself in the foot. Import your save, because it auto popped my platinum and all the DLC. I'd done it all on the PS4, imported the save, and popped all the trophies at once, and then went, oh, well, I guess I won't bother playing it then because there's no trophies.
Well, that was the thing. So, and we spoke about it before with Gears of War. So it actually gives you the option when you first load it up for the first time, do you want to import your PS4 save? And I just said, nah, let's just, clean slate it and walk away. And then I think I did get a message from you saying, just import your save. You'll pop all the trophies and save yourself the time. It's sort of not about it wasn't about the time save. It was just about enjoying the game again. But having said that, those crimes that you have to, for each district that you have to finish towards the end of the game, I sort of thought, maybe Maybe I should just import my save at this point, not those last couple. But no, played my way through it and again, thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, a brilliant game. Looks and runs great. I played around with it for maybe half an hour. But as I said, popped the trophies immediately and really shot myself in the foot on that one. But yes, if you've never played the game, absolutely worth going hands-on with. All right, Bully, what is the upcoming week's most...
Well, it's the upcoming week. It actually, when I double-checked it before, it's actually got released today. So the DLC for the Indiana Jones was released today. So Indiana Jones and the Order of the Giants, I think it's called. Order of the Giants
that
DLC,
sounds right.
which I think so. When I got it on the PS5, I got the deluxe edition, which had this included. And I think it ended up being about $30 or $40 extra than the base edition. So I haven't jumped into it yet. I haven't seen how long it goes for, but certainly I played through Indiana Jones on the Xbox. Got a fair way through it when it got released. Bought it again on the PS5. Got the platinum on that and thoroughly enjoyed playing through it. So I was really keen to get back into it. You know, there is a fair bit of new stuff being released this week that some may be excited about. I know Unky's talked about Chronos: The New Dawn. He's played that. I think he must have got early access to it. Certainly jumping into it and really enjoyed it. An old favourite of mine is Everybody's Golf or Hot Shots Golf being released tomorrow as well.
Which platforms is that coming to? Is that PlayStation and Switch too?
Just PS5. It's a PlayStation. No, that's just a PlayStation IP. So you had that, and then Hell Is Us, which I think we've all played the demo, the three of us, and really enjoy. It's very different style gameplay, but I think all of us to varying degrees really enjoyed that. But for mine, given how much I enjoyed the Indiana Jones game on release, I couldn't go past the DLC. Any excuse to get back into it. The game graphically looks fantastic. The gameplay is fantastic. It does take a little bit to wrap your head around playing a game in this style in the first-person view, but once you do, when you get into it, it's an absolutely fantastic game and a fantastic story, and really does the Indiana Jones IP justice, not like the last couple of films that they released. But we're going back to the halcyon days of the 80s and early 90s of prime Harrison Ford Indiana Jones. So jump into that. I will be doing that over the weekend.
Yeah, I picked up the deluxe edition when it came to PlayStation as well, so I do have access to it. Did you, by any chance, check out any patch notes or anything for it, Bully? I'm just wondering if they did any tweaks to the core game when they've dropped this DLC as well, whether they've added anything.
I haven't seen whether they've had any updates to the base game, but from what I can see, it's a relatively substantial DLC. It takes you back to Rome. There's some secrets and mysteries to uncover about ancient Roman emperors. So, right up the Indiana Jones path with that sort of stuff. And again, probably something it's, even in the base game where you start the game and it has that rehash of the first movie with the temple that he goes through, but then it takes like a left turn and just basically just disregards any of the movies, and it has its own story and its own plot line and all that sort of stuff. So I'm hoping it sort of goes on. Well, it looks from what I've seen is it goes along that sort of lines again, is that we've just got our own plot line. We're going to flesh out our own story. And as I said, the story that it tells, at least in the base game, is a hell of a lot better than the last couple of movies. So if you love that original Indiana Jones, I'd highly recommend it. And like I said, I'm really keen to jump into it. The only thing is I have to reinstall the game, which I think is 100 plus gig, I think. So
107 jumps to mind.
I might have to set that up overnight and jump in it tomorrow over the weekend.
Fair enough, mate. My only question, and I don't know, you mightn't have seen it anywhere, I assume you've got to have completed the main story and then this picks up after the credit roll, or is it like main menu and it's its own separate element?
Well, I'm just having a look through it now. So it says it's an expansion of the Vatican City level. So I would imagine that you would have to have played through that level of the game, and then it sort of expands on that level, I guess, to a large degree. So for those that haven't played it, the Vatican level is pretty much the first big-ish open area game area that you get to within the game. after the sort of tutorial and the story building levels that take maybe, I don't know, hour and a half in the first instance. So if that being the case, I'd imagine that it wouldn't take, for anyone that's played the game for more than a fleeting glance, you'd probably be up to that Rome and Vatican area anyway. So you'd be able to jump, I would imagine, from what I can see, is pretty much jump straight into it.
Yeah, nice one. All right, then, let's kick in the newsroom door, shall we, sir?
Kick it in.
Whom has the right to remain newsworthy this week, Bully?
Bond. James Bond. So we had the State of Play, which sort of came out of nowhere in the last sort of week, that they were dropping footage and gameplay through a State of Play, which got released this morning. I've only sort of caught glimpses of it, and I've done that sort of on purpose because it's got me hooked. I love James Bond, so it's got me hooked from the get-go. In the first instance, I guess my main thing was sort of how it looks graphically, how it plays, and what's the release date. So that sort of watching it for a couple of minutes really sort of satiated me that it's made by IO Interactive, which is the developers of Hitman, and it's got that Hitman vibe to it in terms of the sneaking around, but it's also got a little bit of element of the Uncharted, sort of over the top, which you get in the movies anyway. You get those over the top action sequences, which is very reminiscent of the Uncharted series as well. So if they're sort of blending those together, it looks good from my point of view. From what I've seen from a graphical perspective, the gameplay looks pretty good, and that was sort of enough for me just to sort of go, yep, I'm happy with what I've seen, and I'm looking forward to it when it releases. I think it was, and I'll just double check, but I think it was in March or April next year.
March 26th. I'm going off memory. I believe it was March 26th. I only saw it flash up once earlier today. I think it looks amazing. As you know, I'm a huge Hitman fan, so I'm a massive fan of the developers. As you said, IO Interactive. It's taken me all day to come to terms with it, but being it was IO and there's the stealth sections, I was a little disappointed initially that you couldn't pick up the bodies after you drop them, Bully. I was surprised. I was shocked.
But Bond doesn't hide bodies. He's proud of his work. He's proud of his work.
It took me all day to come to terms with it, but I'm watching the stealth gameplay and I'm like, why can't you pick up the bodies? How are you going to cover your tracks? You're right. It's Bond. He doesn't cover his tracks.
He doesn't need to. People cover his tracks for him. March 27th next year it does come out. So,
and I think there was 1 or 2 days early access for the deluxe edition.
Yeah. So I'll have to see what that includes. But from I'm really like these sort of style of reveals. We knew it was coming, but when they give us the full rundown of the full gameplay and then go, oh, by the way, it's available in the next 6 months. I really love that, where it sort of hypes it up a little bit. You've got your interest in it, and it's not 3 years down the track where you go, oh, what was that game that I saw that one time that sort of interested me? It's that period where you go, oh, yep, it's only 6 months. I can keep that on my radar and really look forward to it. And for me, like I've said a couple of times, I've seen enough of what's there. It looks good from my perspective, and it'll be a day one pickup for me, I think.
Yeah, I loved all the little gadgets they showed off. Obviously, I'm sure the game itself will have a lot more to it, but even just here, Bully, you hack into the planes and then you're L1Ring to roll the whole level on its side, and then you can crush enemies with loose items. There's just so many little gameplay mechanics that I can't wait to go hands-on with. The performances, there was a lot of, I think it wasn't the entire first level, but it was, the sort of lead into the first level. I think maybe it was like 20 minutes from the start, where it starts with a long drive and there's 4 people in the car. You're having a conversation. It sets it up. But what I want to shout out is the performance of all the actors was top tier. It really does feel like it's, Hollywood AAA level acting, front and center in the story setups for the level. So just phenomenal stuff. And then big set pieces like this, as you were saying earlier, mate, the Uncharted's looks phenomenal as well. Oh, the other thing, Bully, was I noticed it was, if you pre-order it today, or I don't know how long you've got, but at the moment, if you pre-order it, they give you the deluxe edition at no extra cost. So you pre-order the standard edition and get all the deluxe stuff, which I thought was pretty interesting. which I think now that I think about it, I think it was 24 hours early access. But look at the screen here, Bully. This was just my knock up of the cover after watching it, mate. Have a little look here. What do you think of that? Does that do it for you, mate?
007 Bund's fortune?
It was meant to say Bonds, but AI doesn't always play just the way you want it.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
But anyway, fun and games. I cannot wait to go hands on with this. I love everything about it. All right, Bully, should we move on to news story 2, mate?
Oh, let's replay story 2. So I saw during the week, I don't know how much press or how much, and it's maybe a little bit like the first game. There wasn't a lot of sort of hype about it coming out, but Yooka-Laylee, which was released originally in 2017. So we're talking about an 8-year-old game here, which was made by the developers of the original Banjo-Kazooie game on the N64, which is, for anyone old enough, is a cult classic. And it's very much in that same sort of vein, that humorous sort of characters that you've got in it, the over-the-top sort of characters, and then you've got, it's pretty much like they've taken the design of Banjo-Kazooie and how that played and basically just redesigned the main character to be exactly the same thing, but a little enough different that we're not going to get copyrighted or anything like that. But they're actually releasing a what they're calling the Yooka-Laylee in October. So an up-resed, redone version of Yooka-Laylee, and there is a discount if you do own it on any of the other platforms. So they're giving you a 30% discount for if you own it digitally on any of those consoles. You go to the store, you just automatically get a 30% discount on the game itself. But I don't know how much or whether you actually ever played it, Troy, but I really enjoyed it. I love the the Banjo-Kazooie games on the N64. I was a massive fan of them. I thought they were on par, if not better than the Mario 64. By the time they came out a couple of years down the track, they'd really improved on that, 3D platforming genre, because it was, Mario 64 was really the first of its kind. And by the time Banjo came out a couple of years later, they'd sort of worked off a lot of the bugs and the issues with that game and sort of perfected a little bit. So I quite enjoyed it. There was some elements that sort of let me down a little bit in the game itself, but overall, I thought it was a really fun game. And the only thing that annoyed me, or the biggest thing that annoyed me about it, is you play through a level and you could go back and spend coins to expand the level. So what you thought you'd gone through on 100% of the level, it then expanded to all these different areas. You had to go back in there and find all the collectibles in. And anybody that's played a 3D platformer knows that they're just collectathons. So to go back into it, I'll get the replay value, but to go back into a level that you think you've done and dusted, you found every little nook and hidey hole and all the rest of it, and go, oh, by the way, we've just expanded the level by 50%. Sort of annoyed me a little bit, but really enjoyed the game, and it's probably one I don't know if I'll pick it up on release, but at some point down the track, I'm sure I'll have a look at it and jump back into it.
Fair enough, mate. Sorry, 1 sec. A quick active reload. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, if I can find the active reload. All right, we are back. My apologies for that brief break in transmission. Bully, News Story 3, mate. It looks like a PS Vita, is it?
Well, it's the best footage I can find because it's just rumors at the moment. But rumors floating around, and I think we've discussed it a little while ago that there's rumors already floating around about the PS6 and what that looks like, and potential release dates and all the rest of it. But there's rumors coming out in the last couple of weeks that Sony's reportedly planning on a Nintendo Switch style PS6 portable. So it's interesting to see how that's going to work, whether they're going to try and do the full thing like the Switch, where it's a dockable console that then you can dock and play on the TV, or whether it's going to be a separate entity. So you'll have your PS6 itself, and then you'll have a Vita style PS6 portable that plays the same sort of games, it may be at a lesser resolution or whatever it is. But from what the leaks that are coming out at the moment is that there is this portable version, however it sort of looks, and it looks like it can be docked. So, and again, whether it's the same as a PS6 or whether it's separate, but from early indications are that it looks like it is due for or slated, planned for release in late 2027, will retail for around $500 US. So the same as what the, sort of about that same sort of price that the PS5 released at. But early indications are that it's graphically, so that I'm not sure if you remember when the PS Vita came out at the very end of the PS3 life cycle, I should say. So it was sort of a comparison to the PS3 instead of, in terms of its graphic styles and its ability to play games. But on the release of the PS4, it obviously fell behind pretty quickly.
Yeah.
What we're seeing at the moment is that the portable, from what they're planning, is going to be more powerful than the PS5 is currently. So it'd be interesting to see whether that can get to that level. It's never going to be as powerful as a home console, but how close they can get to that level would be interesting to see. But nothing official from Sony, but certainly just a bit of a rumor floating around. And I don't know. I've really got. There was probably a period of time in my late teens and early 20s where I was sort of big into not mobile gaming, but portable gaming on consoles, and I've really, really gone away from that over the last sort of decade or so. So I'm, the Nintendo Switch, whenever I pull that out, is always docked. I never play it handheld unless I'm on a plane or something like that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I normally do a dock. So if you've got the option between the two, and if indeed they end up being two separate consoles, I'm not sure it's something that I'd really jump into, because it's not like for $500 US. So you'd be talking, $800-ish Australian. I'm not sure I can really justify that price for something that I'd very rarely, if ever, use.
Yeah, that's fair, mate. I still grab the boys' Switches if the tally's occupied and I want to be inside, not out here in the studio. I still frequently handheld game in Switch, in handheld mode, not dock mode. So I've got no objections on that front. I don't mind myself a bit of handheld gaming. My first question, my hope, would be: do you reckon they'll give us a separate trophy list for the games on the handheld versus the primary console? Will there be a separate SKU for the titles?
Well, see, I'm not sure. See, I'd almost hope they go the other way, that it's like what they've done with the PlayStation Portable, where it's not that it's a mirror machine like that is, where it just replicates what's on the PS5 console. So you can have your two different machines, but that it marries up with. So it's almost like a cross progression type thing. Like for mine, that would, for me, be the best way to do it. That you could sort of go, okay, well, I've been playing Uncharted 5 on my PS6 console. I'm going to be away for the next week, but hey, I'm going to take my PS6 portable and I'm going to take that away with me, and I'll be able to, play through it on that. And then when I get back home, I can just continue. So it's just a continuation of where you're at. That would be my hope with what they just sort of do. So to answer your question, I hope that there's not two different consoles, trophy SKUs. But, that's what the Vita did, separate to the PS4 and the PS3. So it'd be interesting to see how they do it. But I think that was always one of the other issues as well, because the portable consoles for Sony were always seen as a lot easier to hack, and that was always going to be one of their issues, especially after the PSP was released, and that was that was hacked within, sort of 12 months. It became very much for a lot of people that had one was more of an emulating handheld than it was, for playing legitimate PlayStation software. So, and that's why trophies never came to that. So that's always the risk you run, is that if you put something out that you don't fully support, which is what we've seen with the PS Vita, it had some support to start with, but that faded pretty quickly, and Sony almost gave up on it after a year or two, to a large degree. So if they stop that, and then they stop supporting it with updates and system improvements, that you always open that door to a large degree that it's going to be hacked. And then once that trophy system does get hacked, it just makes the whole thing null and void to mine.
Yeah.
Of being able to say, hey, I've played this game and I've platinumed it, because you'll all be sitting in the back of your head going, well, did you really, or did you just hack it? Like, I don't know. So the risk they run, but if they're going to do it, they have to support it properly, not like they did with the Vita.
Yeah. I just wonder from a development standpoint whether if the handheld might present unique challenges and might need to be patched more frequently than the sort of home console version. And I just wonder how whether the developers would be able to separate the two so they can just update the handheld version or just update the console version. That's the only sort of gotcha I can see there. And I don't know if they'll maybe be trying to aim for a smaller file or install size on the handheld one. I don't know if the specs out there are speculating as to how big the hard drive will be in it, or the memory will be in the unit. But, do you really want to be sitting there, and if you've got the home console and you've got the portable unit, do you really want to be sitting there downloading 200 gigabyte games simultaneously, overnight before you take off or whatever?
Well, I suppose that's always the other thing as well, as you've seen from console generation to console generation, the space that each individual game takes up on the hard drive is getting exponentially larger. So how, again, that's from my understanding, from what I've seen, that's always one of the biggest constraints on any console, is the memory you put in it, because at release you're trying to put as much as you can, but that comes at and as quicker memory as you can, but that always comes at a premium price when you're releasing it, and makes up a significant percentage of the console's actual cost, not the GPU or the CPU. It's the memory itself that you're trying to throw that in. So you're going to then try and release this with something that would have to have substantial memory, and hopefully not go down the line of the last couple of consoles of proprietary memory that just gets blown out of all proportion with cost. They need to do something cost effective in that respect. So again, I don't know how that'll work, because like you said, you're going to play Call of Duty on a PS6 that's 150, 200 gig. How do you then put that onto a portable console without it being massively compromised?
Yeah, exactly. It'll be fascinating to see how they tackle that one. But I like the sound of it. As I said, I enjoy, even though, I understand you're saying you like to be away from home on an airplane or whatever to use it. But as I said, I'm happy to play handheld gaming on the couch. So as long as it's not ridiculous file sizes, it'll be fun. But if it's not ridiculous file sizes, surely they've got to be two different SKUs. Time will tell on that one. All right, Bully, what is going on here in News Story 4, please, mate?
Well, I think you questioned me as to what was coming up, but there was certainly something that just almost flew out of nowhere from what I saw. That a release of an iconic video game developer from the 80s and 90s, Acclaim, seems to be in the process of something of a comeback. So they declared bankruptcy as a company some 20 odd years ago. And seems to be resurrected to some degree. And in what way, shape, or form, I've got no idea. But there is an indication that there will be a Play Acclaim showcase next week on September 10th, where they're going to relaunch the Acclaim developer. I don't know what that involves, what games, whether there's new games or whether it's legacy games with old IP that they're redoing. I'm not quite sure where they're going from that, but certainly I'd be extremely interested to see. And I can still see that Acclaim logo popping up on the SNES with games. So be really interested to see what they do. And probably one of the biggest ones for mine is NBA Jam. which we haven't seen a decent version of that since the arcade and the SNES versions back in the early 90s with NBA Jam and NBA Jam Tournament Edition. But certainly, a really well-loved developer for my younger years, and would be really keen to see them back. Probably the other one that really interests me as well in that, and there's two aspects of it. So the Turok series is getting a re-release, and in a physical form in the next month or two. So 1, 2, and 3 is getting re-released. So it'd be interesting. They originally had that, and the other one is the original Burnout series, which we did briefly mention before. Is that they had that? So I'd be really keen to see a relaunch of the Burnout series and see, sort of see where they can go with that. But again, whether it's they're just trying to relaunch the company and make it new IP and new sort of stuff, or whether they can revive some of that old sort of stuff, I'd be interested to see. But I guess we'll find out in about a week's time.
Will we also find out in a week's time what it has to do with an Adidas commercial?
This is what I'm pretty sure this is what they. This is literally what they released. This is the Acclaim Acclaim Fest, or what did I call it before? The Acclaim. The
Acclaim All Stars,
Acclaim All Stars, or something like that. I don't know. This is what I found. So there you go. But feel free to move on from the Adidas commercial.
Very good. All right, mate. News story 5, please.
News story 5. So one that was really big when it came out, certainly amongst us, and really I really enjoyed it, was Blueprints, which did come out as a PS Plus game. I think it was from April. I really enjoyed it, and it originally on release, day one release onto the PlayStation Plus, and I think as well
Xbox Game Pass as well.
Game Pass as well. But they've announced just this week that there is a physical release coming in the next couple of months. So you can get it through IM 8-Bit Games, which is a limited run developer. I have had a look. You can get a version that has basically just the game, the game by itself, with just the disc and the cover. But they've also released and I think the way they've done it, it's actually pretty good. So you can actually get individual elements of the what they call in the commissary bundle, but it's a collector's edition, which has a whole bunch of collectibles with it. So you get the game, obviously, then you get the picture book, you get the basement replica key. So the key is the basement's basically the end game of the game. So you get a replica of that, you get a notebook, you get I think there's 12 keychains that you can get, and they give you a blind bag which has one of those 12s in there. And then you get a coupon for some extra for any future Blueprints products that they release. And from what I've seen, it actually has done pretty well, was received incredibly favorably on release. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a follow-up in some way, shape, or form. But that's through IM 8-Bit Games being released. And as I said, probably for the interesting part for me is that if you are interested in one or two of those collectible items, but not necessarily everything, you can buy them individually. You can buy the game individually, and then you can buy each one of those collector's parts individually as well, which I don't think I've ever seen before.
No, so that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, and a very interesting way to release it and sell it to, really you can, put together almost a collector's edition that suits you, rather than being thrust upon things that, for a lot of us that have seen collector's editions, sort of go, oh, that looks really cool, but all this other rubbish that you get with it is literally stuff that will just stay in a box and I'll never look at again. So, fantastic way of doing it, I think.
Yeah, it's true to the game, mate. You get your different blueprints, you get your different options, build it your way, And when's yours arriving in the mail, mate? I assume you ordered one?
I didn't know it was coming out until you sent me that message this morning. So I'll have to have a look at it. I don't know if I'm just going to go the game itself, or whether I'm going to the basement key replica actually looks pretty good. I'll have to have a bit more of a look into that as to how big it is and what it's made. If it's just made of cardboard or something, forget it. But if it's an actual metal key, it actually does look pretty cool. I might grab that as well.
Yeah, nice one. And this game, Blueprints, is this your answer to my question from the last episode where I was asking you for a nomination for Indie Game of the Year?
Yes. I can't remember. What was the one you threw up last week?
Sword of the Sea, yeah.
Oh, no, this beats it hands down.
Oh, well, the difference is, mate, I've rolled credit 3 times on Sword of the Sea. That game just tickles me pink. That is such a good game, and I am yet to roll credits on Blueprints, even though I've put the game clocks over 48 hours for me. I've yet to roll credits. It has me beaten.
To be honest, it is I can see how it would get a very frustrating game, but it was one of those games for me that was just, it had that hooks in of one more go. I reckon I can do it this time. I've unlocked this thing. I reckon I can do it this time. It really got its hooks in me, and I rolled credits on it. I absolutely loved it. I think it's a fantastic indie title.
Yeah, it's great, man. I keep going back to it and playing it for, just a couple of runs and just trying to get further. I'm just yet to roll credits, and it's driving me nuts. I just want to roll credits one time. Anyway, let's move on from Blueprints, shall we, to News Story 6, Bully.
I think there's a bit of self-indulgence for me and you. I didn't realise this. Another one I didn't realise was coming out.
This is hot off the presses, mate. This was only announced a few hours ago.
Well, there you go. And so maybe you can speak to it more than I can, because I've only seen the picture you sent through, but it was for those that have played any golf whatsoever, there is a competition or a variation on a shorter hole, par 3, that you can do nearest the pin. So it's one that you can drive off the tee, and whoever gets nearest the pin wins. So I'd imagine that's what they've thrown in here, is that you get one shot to get as close as you can, and then the winner takes all off one shot. So this mode might actually suit you, because I know from experience, and that shot that you've just seen on screen there probably doesn't tell the tale, but I know from experience that you like to pull out all stops on your first shot and have a real crack at it. So it might be this is the mode for you. You might be able to get one back on me.
Awesome, back, baby. We should explain to the viewers, this is just one of the many sessions Bully and I have had multiplayer in the PSVR 2 title, Walkabout Mini Golf. Hands down, my biggest game of the year. A couple of interesting things from the post today. It's their 5-year anniversary of this game coming out. I had no idea this game was 5 years old, Bully. Does that sort of set your hair back a little?
It does. And I have to say, this is probably would have to be close to one of the games that I've put in the most hours for this year. I absolutely love it. Whether you're playing single player, there's various modes within each level. There's a normal mode, there's a hard mode, there's collectibles within, whether it be golf balls or golf clubs. And as you said, you and I have played many games of multiplayer in this, and I can't speak highly enough of this game. In terms of VR, if you're ever going to play a VR game for mine, and as dumb as it sounds that, the highlight of VR is a mini golf game, it's more than that. Like, the level design is fantastic. The way they put the holes together is amazing. And it's just like easy multiplayer VR fun that I don't think I've had, in all honesty, I don't think I've had this much fun in take the VR out of it, in a multiplayer game in such a long time. It's just really enjoyable that the holes are so bizarre and outlandish and all the rest of it that you just end up sort of laughing, and there's laughter, there's frustration, there's annoyance, there's the
lasers,
there's lasers, zap. That you just it's got everything in there that you can get frustrated, but you don't end up frustrated for too long, because all of a sudden, I could play a really good hole and be a couple of shots up, and then I stuff up the next hole, and then, you get it through, and there's just so much to it. I love it.
Yeah, I love it as well, Bully. I do. This game, if only it came out this year, we could nominate it for Indie Game of the Year and come Game of the Year awards time.
Does it count? Does it count if it's the first year we played it?
Oh, well, we'll have to convene some sort of meeting to discuss that. You could bend my arm, though, and get it over the line.
No, but then I can't get Blueprints over the line.
But this would be VR Game of the Year, mate. We can always subcategory it.
Hey, it's our show. It's our rules. We can do what we want.
That we can. We are the gaming enforcement agency. Who's going to overrule us? No one. the other thing to shout out, Bully, to people who aren't familiar with the game is they do a lot of licensed levels. Yep. So there's tie-ins to a lot of pop culture stuff, movie tie-ins, or the Tokyo one was the recent level that came out just themed like Tokyo. And it's honestly like going on a holiday. I think it's so good. Oh, check out your hole-in-one here, Bully. This was a thing of beauty.
But even like you talk about the IP that they've got in it, it's funny that some of the IP that they've chosen to pursue and use, like there's Labyrinth, which was a cult 80s fantasy film. There's a level based around that, but then so they've done that. But there's Wallace and Gromit, which we saw before. But so they've got that, but then they've also gone, let's just pluck something out of nowhere. So there's a level that you play in the Highlands of Scotland where it's snow coming down, and there's levels set in ancient Greece, and Elfheim, so the Elf Kingdom. I can't speak highly enough of it.
It's so good. The big tie-in that I'm waiting for, they're yet to do anything in Australia, mate. So I'm hoping for the Mad Max tie-in. I want post-apocalyptic Australia, and I want to be, knocking my putter into the Interceptor.
I thought you were going to say when you were talking about post-apocalyptic Australia, you were just talking about current Victoria, but
oh. Solid burn, mate. Solid burn. That will do it for the news this week. Thank you very much. Bully, tell me what's been happening in that there YouTube chat, buddy.
Well, just a bit of back and forth with Tigaro, but he did ask. He missed the first sort of couple of games that we spoke about. A bit late into it, but he did ask, are we doing a Metal Gear Solid Delta review? I did toy with it. I'll put probably 3 or 4 hours into it. I don't think you've played it, Troy, but I know that Unky has, if he hasn't done already, he's extremely close to rolling credits. So I thought, to be fair to him, given that he couldn't be here this week, hopefully we can grab him next week and he can give us a full and thorough rundown of Metal Gear Solid Delta. I'm really enjoying what I'm playing so far. If you can put up with the cutscenes, the game is, and if you ever played a Hideo Kojima game, you know what and especially in the Metal Gear franchise, you know what you're getting yourself into with infinite cutscenes. So you just have to bear and grin it. But the game itself, really enjoying it, and hopefully we get an Unky back next week and we can go a full deep dive into it.
Yes, fingers crossed a paycheck comes through for me in the next couple of days, and I'll also be able to pick up the game, and then I'll be able to do an install for it on the channel, and I'll be up to date for the next week's show, and hopefully all three of us will be back on and we can dive into it deeply. I'm desperate to go hands-on with it, but I just don't have the finances currently, but we'll get there. We will get there. Anything else from the chat there, Bully, or should we knock off for the evening?
Oh, it's time to punch the card, I think.
Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. We are off duty. Unky Dunky, unfortunately not here this evening, but Bully, you were holding us up all evening, sir. Great work in that third slot. Thank you, mate.
Pleasure as always.
Bully, what else could you do with Geek Aloud?
Like it, subscribe it, you'll never miss it.
Oh, that was luck. Hey, that's something. Old Uncle Donkey. Gee, Donkey.